Welcome back to Legal Cross Ledger. I'm Pranjal, tech nerd by profession and the guy who ends up debugging smart contracts.
Right, and I'm Harshitha, one of the co-founders of Code Gavel. I'm a lawyer by training and advisor for Web3 founders who come to us after launching their tokens. So today, this episode is one of my favorites because we're moving beyond basics and trying to answer a few questions.
Right. So, no more what is blockchain today. This one's for the founders who already started building and are now wondering why lawyers keep using words like security, jurisdiction, and liability.
Right. So this episode is about the stuff people miss when they go to from having an idea to launching something real like tokens or DAOs or community, treasury, or and even users. So it's no longer hypothetical right now. If you don't structure it well legally, the consequences aren't hypothetical either.
Right. So let's begin with the most popular Web3 move, launching a token. Honestly, I've lost count of how many founders I meet who are already planning a token before even they've built the product.
Right. It's such a common pattern these days. And here's the catch, right? People think of a token as just a code, like oh, it's just an ERC 20 with a fancy name. But in the eyes of law, your token could be interpreted as something completely different.
Right. So for anyone listening, think of tokens like digital chips in a system. You can use them to get access, pay for services, or vote in governance. But depending on how you position them, they might look like investments, right? And that's when regulators get interested.
Exactly. And I think we've discussed this earlier on one of our videos as well. If you're saying things like this token is going to increase in value or buy early for better or more benefits, you might have accidentally turned your token into a security, right? And that means you need to comply with securities laws, which are strict, expensive, and definitely jurisdiction specific.
Right. So what exactly should someone do before launching a token, Harshita?
First and foremost, please get a token legal opinion. It's very important. This is
Yeah.
basically a formal document where we as lawyers analyze how your token functions, how it's distributed, what your white paper says, and how your community interacts with it. So then I think it will help you classify it legally based on its functions, like is it a utility token, security token, or a hybrid. This opinion is, I would say, crucial for getting listed on exchanges, raising from institutional investors, and just staying on the right side of the law, basically.
Right. I remember we had a client who kept calling their token pure governance, but then marketed it as the next big thing and promised early returns, right? So I mean that's anything but governance. It's basically a red flag.
Exactly. It's not only, I mean, you don't have to always think about what your token does. It's also about how you talk about it and how you market it. Even a technically safe token can get classified as a security if your marketing language crosses the line. So
Right.
that also needs to be taken care of.
Definitely. So now let's move to DAOs, right? Decentralized autonomous organizations. The dream is beautiful, community-led, no CEOs, decisions are made by token holders. But what's the reality?
Reality is most DAOs are just a Telegram group or a safe wallet and maybe a voting plugin, right? That's not technically a legal entity. That's just chaos with just good branding.
Right. So, quick side note for listeners, DAO is essentially an online organization that runs based on smart contracts and token-based voting. The idea is to remove traditional hierarchies, but in practice, most DAOs don't think about legal liability.
And that's dangerous, right? Because if you're handling funds, onboarding contributors, and writing code, signing off on deals, someone is liable. And if there's no legal wrapper like a DAO LLC or foundation, that someone could be anyone with voting rights and or has an access.
Right. So we actually saw a DAO contributor get sued in a totally different country just because they had multi-sig access. They weren't even the founders.
This is why I say that setting up a proper legal structure matters. Some projects use the Wyoming DAO LLC in the US if you're looking for popular choices. So that gives the DAO a legal standing and limited liability, which helps. And others go to these Swiss associations, there's Panama foundations, or there's Marshall Island structures. It really depends on what your DAO does. Are they building software, managing grants, issuing tokens? So based on that and the jurisdiction, I think setting up a legal wrapper or a legal entity is very, very important.
And beyond just legal wrappers, you need internal rules, right? Who can vote, what happens in case of a dispute, who owns the code being built.
Yep. And these rules should be written. It needs to be in writing in a DAO operating agreement or charter. Just relying on community sentiment or forum posts is definitely not enough.
Right. Okay, now so let's talk about jurisdiction, right? And let's be blunt. Founders love buzzwords. Let's register in BVI because that's what everyone does, right? Or let's set up in Dubai. It's crypto friendly. But what's the reality?
I mean, we can call it jurisdiction tourism at this point, and it is definitely risky. Each jurisdiction has its own pros and cons. They're not interchangeable.
Right.
BVI, like you said, is quick and cheap, but it definitely lacks IP protection, which you need to worry about. And then there's Singapore, which is great for dev tools and infrastructure, but the regulator there, the MAS, is very cautious and slow as well.
Right. And Dubai has been interesting, especially with the creation of VARA, the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. They're actively issuing licenses for custodians, exchanges, and token projects, right? But the compliance checklist is intense. You need KYC, client agreements, segregation of assets, reconciliation reports, marketing restrictions, and other things.
Yeah, but what's cool about the licensed VARA entities now are they're starting to offer collaboration to unlicensed startups also. So we've seen token projects or DeFi tools partner with legal custodians or OTC desks in Dubai, which gives them a compliant backend while they build it. So we have also discussed VARA and VASP in a very specific episode. Please check out our page for a more detailed video on that going forward.
Right, right. And what about India? What's happening in India?
Right. India, as we've discussed again, it's definitely interesting right now. There's no official licensing regimes for tokens or exchanges yet, but the data protection law has definitely come in, and the taxation is heavy as well. We all know. So a lot of Indian founders keep their DAO dev company here, but spin off a DAO or a token entity offshore like Panama, Seychelles, Cayman, and this is something that they kind of decide on a lot of variables. So if you need help with that, please reach out to us.
Right. So it's not about what sounds cool on Twitter, right? It's about what fits your product, your user base, and your growth stage.
Exactly. And your legal stack has to match your tech stack. So that is your end game, end goal.
Very true. So let's wrap up with a lightning round. Things founders always forget until it's too late.
Sure. Let's take 5 points for this. The first one being your importance to founder agreements. It is very important that you, as founder, agree on equity, token allocation, roles, and what happens if someone leaves. That is the first and foremost thing. And the second will be your IP assignment. Just because a developer built it for yours doesn't mean you legally own the code, right? Unless there's an assignment in writing, nothing is legal, that it needs to be in writing. And the third one, I'd say it's a more compulsory thing, is your terms of use and privacy policy. So basically, the moment you start collecting emails, wallet, or even Discord handles, anything that you collect, if it falls under user data, I mean, all of these does fall under user data. So you need to be really
Yeah.
careful. And under the DPDPA or GDPR, you need to disclose that. I mean, every jurisdiction has its own privacy policy. So you need to take care of it. And the fourth one is a more requirement than a legal tip, because KYC and AML documentation is compulsory for all entities right now. So even if you're not an exchange, if you're handling funds or just onboarding users, have a light compliance process in place so that it helps you in the future. And number five, like I've already discussed in the first half of the video, that token opinion is very important. Seriously, get this before any public sale or airdrop, and I think that should be good to go.
Right. And just one more point, don't announce airdrops before your legal docs are ready. Otherwise, you'll end up with us trying to retrostructure everything under panic.
Yeah, I mean, still one of my favorite chaos stories. But yeah, definitely, it's always better to be careful than sorry. So you really need to think of all these factors and have a legal entity and structure it properly before you enter the market.
Right. So what we're saying is Web3 is growing up, right? It's not the Wild West anymore. If you're
Mhm.
building something valuable, please protect it with the right legal foundation.
Absolutely. And that is exactly, I think you'll agree that we built Code Gavel to give these founders legal clarity without
Definitely.
without slowing them down or hindering the process of growth. So if you're about to launch something, be it DeFi, DAO, token, anything, just talk to us first. We're here to help. Yeah, I think.
Right. All right. So next episode, we'll dive into token vesting and contributor unlocks because trust us, if you don't structure it right, you might be at risk of losing your team and your community.
Absolutely. So see you next time, guys, on Legal Ledger. Drop your questions below and DM us for a detailed checklist that we made specifically for founders.
Thank you.
Thank you all.